Hello, 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 good people. I was muted. Welcome to another community office hours session. Today we are here with the Habitat team. Thank you, Habitat team, for joining us. Like one of the longest running office hours crews. Been here since the beginning. Happy to have y'all again. We actually have a new face to the team. I know everybody remembers Matt, Raul, and Johnny. Like they're here like every month with us, and but now we've got Shaitra. Shaitra is the product manager for the Hab team. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Shaitra.
Hey everybody, my name's Chaitra. Nice to be here. And I'm the product manager for Habitat. And I've been with Progress Chef for about 1.5 years now. And I was responsible for Chef Desktop earlier, but yeah, I have now started working with the Habitat team. So yeah, please reach out if you have any questions on Habitat or any chef product stuff that you want to talk about.
Yes, and well, like folks definitely can reach out to all of the Habitat uh, team members on our community Slack, and that leads me to um, my pre-flight checks. If you are not following us on Twitter, what are you doing? Definitely follow us on Twitter to find out about like releases and webinars that are coming up and all of the happenings, the social happenings of Chef. Um, and as stated earlier, if you want to talk to any of the Have team or any of our other teams or any of our other community members who are very helpful and willing to answer your questions, um, definitely hit up the community Slack. You actually might need, if you go on community.chef.io, let me put it on here. There is an invite because you have to be invited because it's the Cool Kids Club. So I'm going to add community.chef.io, and that's where you would go to get your invite to the community Slack. Also, every time we do office hour sessions, we gather questions from the community. And there is a community or there's a office hour Q&A channel where you would go and put in your questions that you specifically want to have answered on community office hours. But if there aren't any questions on that channel, I will go into the various channels. For instance, for the Habitat channel or for the Habitat team, the channel is Chef Habitat. So I'll go through and find different questions that have been answered or that have not been answered on Slack and or our Discourse, which is also below. And those are the questions that we answer live on our office hours, in addition to whatever questions you all bring to the table in the chat. So definitely use those avenues for asking your questions. Discourse is more forum style. Slack is like a chat room. So just choose the way that you interact. All right, that's it for pre-flight checks. So now let's get into our content for today. Before we roll into community questions, I do think we've got like a couple of different pretty important things to talk about. Let's let the team take it away. Johnny, is it going to be you presenting first, or who's going first?
I guess I could go through the ARM stuff first, and then we can switch over to Johnny to do the runtime and variables.
Okay, take it away, Matt.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so last week I think Johnny did a kind of a walkthrough of the ARM packages. So, just to recap, what one of the main things that we've been working on in Habitat over the last while is bringing ARM support. So, today, obviously, we have Linux, we have Windows, but something that people have been kind of asking for has been ARM, and so the idea is that ARM will, once once this becomes generally available, ARM will just work like Linux and Windows does. If you're on an ARM machine, you just download Habitat, you get the ARM binary of Habitat, and when you pull down your packages from the depot, you'll get the ARM, the ARM target for all the packages and dependencies. So, but today, right now, that's not generally available. But what we have done recently is we have uploaded. So we have actually built all of the ARM. A full. I shouldn't say all. We've got a full set of ARM packages. I think what we did was we took Node and all of its dependencies. So that whole dependency tree. So that's going to include quite all the base packages like glibc and GCC, all that kind of base stuff. So that's there. So what we've done is we've built all those packages and we've uploaded them into our acceptance environment. And so there is a way for anybody today to actually play with this. So just again, disclaimer: this is not generally available. I mean, this isn't really even beta. We're giving you like very volatile information here. So if it breaks, we want to know about it. But we're sorry, and we'll do our best. We'll fix it before it's generally available. But absolutely, we want to know about it. So this is a great opportunity for both of us, us as Chef, to learn about potential problems and for you to play with it. So if you do want to play with it, there's two essential things. Well, three essential things you need to do. First thing you need to do is you need to be on an ARM machine. So maybe you have one. Maybe you can go to EC2 and provision one, or your cloud of choice. So be on an ARM machine. Once you are on the ARM machine, you want to set your hab builder URL environment variable to builder.acceptance.habitat.sh. I just shared that command in our private chat. So if he share that in the comments. So it's basically you export this variable, set it to our acceptance depot address. And so that's what that's going to do is when it goes and grabs Habitat packages, it's going to go there instead of our production environment. The next thing you need to do is you need to pull down the hab the hab binary that's built for ARM. And the way you do that, let me copy that URL here.
Okay, so everybody, this is the URL that you need to put in your command. It's down in the chat and also on the screen here.
Yes. So yeah, what you're looking at there, that's the environment variable that you'll use to tell Habitat to go to the acceptance depot to get packages. The next thing is the way to get the actual Habitat binary for ARM. And so basically that's done. People that are using Habitat on Linux are most likely familiar with our curl bash. And so it's essentially that same curl bash, but you're specifying a specific version. So this particular version is 1.6.706. It's the magical version, the magical ARM version. You got to be on an ARM machine. You can't to pull that down. So don't pull it down on like Linux or Windows and move it over. You actually do it on the ARM machine. And again, once this is generally available, you won't need that. You won't need to set the environment variable. It'll just work, like things do today. So at any rate, once you have that HAB tool, you can run HAB setup just like you would today on Linux. So run HAB setup on your ARM, and then you can just go ahead and start building packages and do the thing that you would normally do with HAB. So with that environment variable set and with that particular binary on an ARM machine, things should just work. But again, this isn't available if things like go wrong or things are not as you expected. Please share that feedback with us, so that way we can put that into the final product. So that's all. That's what I got. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to probably just add to that in terms of things that might break is there's no Docker Studio yet available in ARM. So if you try to do a HAB Studio enter with the Docker option explicitly enabled, it'll just die. So it'll probably just be stuck trying to pull a Docker image, which it'll never get. So, but you can still enter the studio, just not the Docker Studio. You can enter the chroot studio, and that should work fine. So the Docker Studio will be available once we publish all the packages and make the whole thing generally available.
So the intent here is to, get your feedback. That's why we have it available in bldr acceptance. So if you try it out and if you face issues or if you have any specific, asks, please post it on community Slack or reach out to Kaya and we'll see how we can help you. And we can have these instructions published in Discourse as well, if you want to refer.
Yeah, we'll try to get to that in a month. I think we'll publish the instructions for sure on Discourse. Yeah. Okay. Johnny, I think next topic is for you.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. So let me know if my screen's available. Not quite sure. I think Kia, are you there?
I think we lost Kia for
Yeah. We can't see your screen.
So I think she's got the access for maybe enabling my screen. However, I'll start off by I'll talk a little bit about it, and then I just wanted to show some examples. So the main feature that I'm going to be talking about today essentially is two functions that we have within Habitat plans available, which I feel are a little bit unknown and maybe underused. So the first one is called set runtime, and essentially what it lets you do is it lets you define environment variable which will be set in the runtime environment whenever you execute a binary from a package through say HAB package exec, or whenever you include this particular package within another plan, right? So the primary scenario for something like this is, for example, you use Java inside, you're building a Java application and you have a plan to build a Java app, and you would pull in one of the JDK or JRE plans as a runtime or a build time dependency for your plan, right? And you have a Java home environment, like a variable, which is supposed to indicate where your Java SDK is installed and where Java can find various tools and utilities and things. So this is something usually if you were building your plan from scratch and assuming this capability was not there. Hey, Kia.
Hey. Thanks for taking over. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I thought I lived in like a modern, like, town where I could expect to have like, electricity that was pretty consistent, but I don't know. I just had a power cycle. So thanks for taking it away, Johnny. I'm back. Go ahead, finish up.
Yeah. So yeah, so I've shared my screen. I think you need to approve it or something
Okay.
to get it shared.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, so oh cool. Okay.
Oop.
So yeah. So I have open in front of me essentially an example of a plan that uses this particular function. So this is the OpenJDK 11 plan on our core plans repo. And we've essentially, in the to setup environment, we have called a function set runtime environment. And we are setting the Java home environment variable here to the package prefix, right? So the package prefix, for those of you who might not be familiar with this, essentially is the location where the plan will install all of its files. So essentially, this is where the location where OpenJDK is going to be on your file system, right? So for Java applications, that's essentially exactly where Java home should be. And the benefit of doing this, so this is the JDK plan, and we are running, we've called this function here, and we've set this environment variable. The benefit of calling this function here and doing this here is that when you now pull in core OpenJDK into your own plan, any Java plan, right? And if you check your environment, you will already find that the Java home environment is available and it is set to the right path, right? So essentially, what that means is you have less setup code inside your plan file so that you can build your packages, and it just is more like natural stuff, right? You might just have your basic commands in there which you would have anyway. You wouldn't have to do a lot of extensive environment setup. So this is something that we do. So it's not just Java, we do this in quite a few different plans. So I'll just search for this function within our core plans, and you can see we have it in our ant plan for an environment variable called ant home. uh, the file plan also has an environment variable for, I guess, it's magic data. And then you have for some of the Ruby plans where you can set uh, runtime environments to find gem paths and things like that, right? So another scenario where we've used this, essentially another use case for this is something that we've applied in our ARM plans. So in our ARM plans, we have essentially the OpenSSL plan. So OpenSSL is a library that's used by a lot of different applications for all of the TLS and HTTPS uh, capabilities that it offers, right? And OpenSSL essentially actually requires a set of certificates that it uses to do all of its authentication and things like that, right? So um earlier, so this is what I'm showing you is not in the core plans. You won't find it that this is only in our ARM plans, which is yet to be public. But what we've done here essentially is in our core plans, I'll actually just show that for a comparison, uh, just so that it's a little bit clearer. Let me see, OpenSSL here. And if I open up the OpenSSL in the core plans, right? So we can see that the core CA certs package is a runtime dependency of the OpenSSL plan, right? And if I look at the ARM plan, not this one, sorry. Yeah, in the ARM plan, there is no, this is the OpenSSL plan. There is no runtime dependency on the core CA certs, right? So what we've done here essentially is in the ARM plan, we have we have actually patched OpenSSL with a small little patch. And what that patch does is it reads a particular environment variable called hab underscore SSL certificate. And if that environment variable is set, it will essentially use whatever the value of that environment variable is as the source of its certificates, right? So by default, if you're using OpenSSL outside a Habitat environment, like this variable would not be set and it would not be used. Like it will just work with whatever's on your system, right? But if you were using the OpenSSL package along with the CA certs package, right? So the CA certs package is here. This is the CA certs package. And inside the CA certs package, I have used set runtime environment, and I've set this particular variable to the location of the CA certs, right? So package prefix, SL cert, CA cert, PEM. This is where the file will be. And essentially what I've done now is I've broken the dependency between CA certs and OpenSSL. So I can update my certificates independently of OpenSSL. Whenever I update my certificates, I don't need to create a new release of OpenSSL and everything that needs OpenSSL. I can only update my certificates, and then I can update the top level plan that's combining these two, right? So for an example of a plan that kind of combines these two, there is the curl plan, which is there in the ARM packages. So we have over here, CA search is pulled in as a runtime dep, and OpenSSL is pulled in as a runtime dep, right? And over here, when this happens, essentially inside the package, that environment variable gets set, and OpenSSL picks that up, and it uses the right set of certificates, right? And that's essentially uh, another really cool way that you can use uh, this capability for setting runtime variables, right? We've used this here to kind of reduce the maintenance overhead of updating the certificates, and that's essentially how we've done this, right? um, there is one last function that also I will just touch upon. So there is also a related function called push runtime environment. And essentially what this is similar to the set runtime environment in that it sets a runtime environment variable. But what this does is it actually doesn't overwrite the variable, it appends to it, right? So if you have multiple plans which push to this runtime environment variable, it will essentially keep appending each new value that it gets, right, from each plan that it gets, right? And this is also really cool because this lets you push to certain environment variables which are read by certain tools. Like for example, these are examples of environment variables that are read by Python and by Perl, right? And what these environment variables do is they tell Perl and Python where to find certain libraries, certain binaries, certain packages, and things like that, right? And all of this stuff happens because it's set in these plans. When you use these plans inside another plan, right, in your top level plan, all of this is like automatically taken care of for you in the background, and you don't have to write really long export statement there, just finding all the right folders and packages and putting them all into the environment so that your Python or your Perl finds these packages correctly and uses them, right? So this is also another uh, really cool function that's available, and you can use this to help create all kinds of different environments for different tools that you use, right? uh, and yeah, this is essentially how um, a lot of tools like inside. So even like the path variable, like how we find binaries within a particular plan that you've included as a dep, essentially is kind of behind the scenes works the same way, right? It's a runtime environment variable that gets set by default inside each plan, and when it gets pulled into the top level plan, all those binary paths get appended together into your path, and then you find them inside the studio. So
Okay.
there's also a really nice blog post that we have that goes into detail in this and explains how this works. And I'll just put the link to this in the chat here. So here you could
Okay.
share it. And
Posting.
I think that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys today. That's kind of
Great.
how runtime environment variables work. And yeah, it's a pretty powerful building block for creating a lot of plans that kind of have dependencies on each other and need to work together, right?
That's great because I mean, you think you have to manage that separately, but I think it's a great to be able to have a central place for to manage all of that. Awesome. So, are we ready to jump into community questions?
Yep.
Sure.
Great. So, first up is from Nikhil Bat on Stack Overflow. Nikhil writes, how can I manage my passwords, credentials, so like his secrets, while deploying my Rails application with Habitat, so I don't have to commit credentials to version control?
So there's there's a number of ways that you can do this. What I will say is what you don't want to do is you don't want to put those credentials into your default TOML. So because your default TOML gets built into the actual package. So when you distribute your package, that includes the default TOML, and if you put secrets in there, everybody gets the secrets. They're not so secret anymore. There's a couple ways. I'm not going to go through every single way, but basically,
Yeah, sure.
the thing to think about is how does Habitat get configuration? Well, by default, it gets it from default TOML. We just said we don't want to put it there. It can also get it from a override TOML. So if you have a user .toml, settings that are in that user, so there's a specific location on disk that you can save a user TOML for. I don't know it off the top of my head. We could share it later, but there's a different, you can have a different user TOML for each service. So if you have a particular service, like a Rails app service, you can put into that user TOML those secrets. Now the thing is, so that won't be built into your package. Obviously, you have to get them into that user.toml somehow. There's a number of ways you could do this. So you store your secrets in a private GitHub repo, and you build that user TOML by pulling from that repo. That's one way to do it. You have a script. When you provision your machine, that might pull from Vault or some sort of secrets management and push them into that user TOML. So that's one way that you can do it, is get it from your user TOML. Another way you could do it is use habconfig apply. And again, kind of the same basic idea. Maybe you have a script that goes to Vault or some actual secrets management system, pulls them out of there, creates a file that you can use habconfig apply to push that configuration to be gossiped basically through your throughout your ring. So those are, there's other methodologies too that people have used. For example, they might use that in their hooks. They might make a call into Vault or another secrets management program of your choice to pull in configuration. So that kind of subverts the whole the whole TOML system as a whole. But at any rate, those are a few paths that you can go down to try that out.
Awesome, Nikhil. Bat, I hope that answers your question. It gives you multiple different things to try. Also, Nikhil, I'm going to post this on Stack Overflow under your question, but I invite you to come to Slack and Discourse. Generally, I'll start trying to look at Stack Overflow for questions that I might miss, but generally we stick to our Slack channel or our Slack community Slack channel and Discourse for our community questions. So look out for an invitation from me under your Stack Overflow question.
Yeah, it almost feels like that would be like for the future, like maybe a good blog post for us to do, because I've heard this question at least 10 times, and I never feel like I'm very prepared. In fact, just now, I just blabbered out a bunch of words. And God help me, if I'm the one that needs to understand that. So that might be something nice to do someday.
Yeah, it would be a good, or and even maybe a good tutorial to do, to kind of show a different way. So that's awesome. Yeah, but I do think, your answer was very concise. I think that Nikhil is probably gonna be able to have some good traction behind that. So appreciate it. Okay, one more from George on Slack. Where do the Hab cache files exist when running Hab Studio on a Mac outside of the container?
Yeah, the nice thing about this question is it's a very straightforward answer. So I'll paste the path that, like, there's one place where it goes, and you can find it. It's so in your user directory, it's going to be under .hab/cache, and that is the definitive answer to that question.
Okay, so this one, all right, I'm putting this in on the screen here. So everybody's got it. All right. .have/cache. So, great. If there are not any other questions on, let me check in Slack and Discord, or excuse me, and the comments for questions now. I don't see any. Do we have any final call outs before we wrap this session up, or are we in a good place to wrap up?
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think. I don't think we had any other topics from our side.
Awesome. Well, if there's anybody watching on, let me check LinkedIn, because we do have a few folks on LinkedIn. Let me see if I have any comments, because those LinkedIn comments don't come up for some reason. Okay, cool. I think we got all the questions then. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Hab team, very much for joining and for answering our questions and for having content prepared for the community. And we will see you all in 5 weeks for the next session.
Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody watching. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next time. Bye.
Bye.